Bob, a lot of people think after you die, you go to heaven. You live in the clouds with God forever. But you seem to have a different view. Where do people go after they die?
Well, you've really hit two different questions. Where do we go after we die, and where do we spend eternity? If we die, and by the way, that's iffy because the rapture could occur in our lifetime, and if it does, we won't ever die. But if we do die, we go to what Paul calls in 2 Corinthians the third heaven, which is currently where paradise is. And we go into the presence of God, the Shekinah glory of God. And so what most people think of as heaven, that's where we go when we die. However, that's not where we spend eternity. If you stop and think about it, where would we have spent eternity if Adam and Eve had not sinned? In heaven or on earth? Obviously on earth, right? I mean, Adam and Eve weren't created to float on some cloud somewhere. They were created to be terrestrial beings. Well, that's not going to change. Remember, Jesus said, heaven and earth will pass away, but my words won't pass away? Well, in the book of Revelation, chapter 21, verses 1 through 3, we see John saying that I saw a new heaven and new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away. And he saw this new Jerusalem, you know, the city with the streets of gold and everything else, coming down from God, from the new heaven to earth. And so that God would dwell with men. And the original idea was that Jesus would visit daily, like Genesis chapter 3, verses 7 and 8 talks about the fact that the Lord used to walk in the garden with them in the cool of the day. I take it that has to be the pre-incarnate Lord Jesus Christ, and that was the original intention. Well, that's not lost after the fall. Jesus is going to return. He's going to establish his kingdom, and after the millennium, there's going to be a destruction of the current heavens and earth, and the reason is simple. It's sin. Sin has contaminated not just earth, but the whole universe. So God's going to eliminate the taint of sin in the whole universe, give us a new heavens and a new earth. And the heavens, by the way, refers to more than just the third heaven. It refers to the whole universe, to the sun, the moon, the stars, the planets, everything out there. It's all going to be new. It's all going to be glorious. And so where we spend eternity future is on the new earth, not in heaven, because we weren't designed to be heavenly beings. We were designed to be earthly beings. And by the way, just a quick aside, you know where this idea came from, that we're going to spend eternity in heaven? That's Greek philosophical thought, Plato and Aristotle. Their basic idea was that matter is bad. Bodies, the physical universe, everything, it's bad, and that the spirit world is good. And so that the ultimate afterlife would be to escape the body. That's totally contrary to Christianity, and yet the early church imbibed that and started teaching that. And yet Jesus' whole point is we're going to get glorified bodies. We're not going to be disembodied spirits forever. We get glorified bodies. We get a new earth. And the new earth, imagine how glorious the earth must have been before the fall, before they were kicked out of the Garden of Eden. And no matter how much it dropped off after that, it was still far more glorious than before the flood. Before the flood, they were living almost 1,000 years. After the flood, life expectancy dropped to about 90. So you had like a tenfold drop in life expectancy, and the earth became much less hospitable and much less beautiful. And yet we still live in a beautiful planet. So the new earth is going to be awesome. And I'm excited about it, and I'm excited about having a body that's no longer going to hurt. No more pain, no more tears, no more sorrow, no more emotional pain, no more guilt, no more of any of that. That's all gone. And that'll be beautiful.
When you say we will have a body that will no longer hurt, what do you mean?
Well, you remember when in John chapter 11, Jesus receives word that Lazarus is sick. Well, does Jesus immediately just say the word and heal him long distance, which of course he can do? No. Does Jesus immediately rush there so he can at least get there before he dies? No. He waits 2 days and then he makes a leisurely journey, and by the time he gets there, Lazarus has been dead for 4 days, right? And so his whole experience there is he's wanting to highlight the fact that death is not the end. He's going to raise Lazarus from the dead. But before he actually talks about all that, and before he does it, Martha says that she knows her brother is going to be raised from the dead on the last day. And that's when Jesus says, I am the resurrection and the life. And he explains he's going to raise the believer from the dead, and he's going to give them life. He gives the believer life which can never be lost. And so the Old Testament concept was always physical bodies, bodily resurrection, pain-free bodies. And we get that from there, as well as in Revelation 21:4, we're told that there's no more death, no more pain, no more sorrow. All those things have been put away. So the whole point of pain and suffering came from the fall. I mean, childbirth would have been painless if not for the fall. In fact, that was part of the curse, right? The curse on the woman was pain in childbirth. Of course, pain in working was the man's curse, right? That he was going to work by the sweat of his brow. So that was never God's intention for us to experience pain. I've often joked that in this life, I won't ride motorcycles or hang glide or any of that stuff because of fear of injury that I carry with me the rest of my life. But in the next life, man, if they make motorcycles that'll go 500 miles an hour, let's give it a shot. And maybe I'll jump out of planes with no parachute. Just, and then like Wile E. Coyote. And then you take off. It'll be fun. No pain, no suffering. And I'll play NFL football probably. Put on a little weight. And I don't know if they'll have football. But if they do, I might be interested.